Fear is a ghost that haunts the halls of every man's mind. It whispers of failure, of pain, and of the unknown. Most men spend their lives running from this ghost, building walls that eventually become their own prisons. But over 2,000 years ago, one man decided to hunt the ghost down. He didn't just manage his fear, he weaponized it. Alexander the Great didn't conquer the known world because he was fearless. He conquered it because he understood the dark psychology of terror, how to project it onto his enemies and how to burn it out of his own soul. Today we dissect the mind of the greatest conqueror in history to learn the brutal art of conquering fear. Welcome to the Sovereign Order. Prepare to cross your own Rubicon. To understand Alexander's mastery over fear, we must look at the shadow. When Alexander was a young prince, no one could tame the stallion Bucephalus. The beast was wild, terrified of its own shadow. The greatest riders in Macedon failed because they fought the horse's strength. Alexander did something different. He used observation, the core of psychological dominance. He noticed the horse was simply afraid of the moving darkness at its feet. He turned the horse toward the sun. He removed the source of the shadow. This is the first lesson of the sovereign. Fear is often an illusion created by perspective. Most of what you fear is just a shadow cast by your own mind. To conquer it, you must turn your face toward the light of logic and reality. You must stop fighting the symptoms and address the root. If you cannot face the sun, you will forever be chased by your shadows. Alexander understood a dark truth about leadership. If your men believe you are a god, they will fight like demons. He used dark psychology to craft a persona of divine invincibility. He wasn't just a king, he was the son of Zeus. In the heat of battle, while arrows rained like hail, Alexander was always at the front. He wore the brightest armor and the tallest plumes. He made himself the ultimate target. Why? Because the sight of a man standing unmoved in the face of death is more terrifying than death itself. By conquering his own fear of mortality, he created a psychological contagion. His courage became a virus that infected his army, making them believe they could not lose. And when an army believes they cannot lose, they become a self-fulfilling prophecy of destruction. Fear often manifests as analysis paralysis. We overthink the problem until the problem consumes us. The legend of the Gordian Knot was the ultimate psychological test of the ancient world. It was a knot so complex that prophecy said only the future king of Asia could untie it. Great men had spent years trying to unravel it with their fingers. Alexander looked at it for a few moments, drew his sword, and sliced it in half. The sovereign does not play by the rules of the problem. When fear tries to entangle you in complexity, you must respond with decisive, brutal simplicity. Boldness is a psychological shortcut. It bypasses the parts of the brain that breed doubt. Alexander didn't untie the knot. He redefined what it meant to solve the problem. In your life, are you wasting time trying to untie your fears, or are you brave enough to cut through them? Leading from the front isn't just a tactic, it's a psychological anchor. Alexander knew that fear is a vacuum. If there is a gap in leadership, fear will fill it instantly. By physically placing his body in the highest point of danger, he removed the option of fear from his soldiers. He understood that the mind follows the body. If the body is moving forward, the mind cannot retreat. This is the psychology of momentum. Once the first step is taken into the heart of the storm no longer matters. Only the objective remains. At the siege of Tyre, Alexander faced an impossible obstacle, an island fortress that had never been taken. The world expected him to walk away. Fear whispered that he was wasting time. But Alexander understood that a sovereign's greatest psychological asset is his obsession. He didn't just attack the walls, he built a land bridge through the sea. This is the dark psychology of total commitment. When your enemies, and your own fears, see that you are willing to move the very earth to reach your goal, their morale shatters. Fear thrives on your hesitation. When you show the world that there is no plan B, fear loses its grip. You are no longer a man wondering if he will succeed. You are a force of nature that has already decided the outcome. While crossing the Gedrosian desert, Alexander's army was dying of thirst. A soldier found a small amount of water and offered it to the king. Alexander did not drink. In front of his entire exhausted army, he poured the water into the sand. This was a masterclass in psychological solidarity. By suffering exactly like his lowest soldier, he killed the fear of death in their hearts. He proved that pain is a shared currency. If the king can starve, if the king can thirst, then the soldier has no right to complain. This is how you conquer fear in a group. You become the standard of endurance. You prove that the spirit is superior to the flesh. Alexander's fearlessness had a dark edge, the fear of being ordinary. He was chased by the shadow of his father, Philip II, and the legends of Achilles. This fear of mediocrity is the most powerful fuel for a sovereign. Most people are afraid of failing. The elite are afraid of never trying. Alexander used this internal pressure to drive himself across continents. He used the anxiety of being forgotten to overcome the anxiety of being killed. To conquer your daily fears, you must find a bigger fear. The fear of a wasted life, the fear of dying with your potential still locked inside you. Make your ambition more terrifying than your obstacles. As Alexander lay on his deathbed at age 32, his generals asked him to whom he left his empire. His final words were, "To the strongest." He didn't leave it to his bloodline. He left it to the principle of strength. He knew that an empire is not a piece of land but a state of mind. The greatest conquest Alexander ever achieved was not Persia or India. It was the absolute subversion of his own biological survival instinct. He lived 1,000 years in a single decade because he refused to let fear dictate his pace. Scene 10, the sovereign command. The world is still full of Gordian knots. It is full of people waiting for someone to untie their problems with gentle hands. But the world belongs to those who draw the sword. You are standing before your own shadow. You are letting your Bucephalus run wild because you are afraid to look at the sun. It is time to stop. It is time to realize that your fear is not a wall, it is a teacher. It is telling you exactly where you need to go. If you are ready to hunt your shadows and claim your empire, type "conquer" in the comments. Let the order know that a new king has arrived. Subscribe to the Sovereign Order. Master your mind. Command your world.